For a number of 24, it asks you to solve an equation on the interval from 0 to 2 pi, and it's going to give you an equation that's like a trigonometric function that has a square and to the 1 power. So it sort of looks like I guess you could resemble it to a polynomial, and that might sort of scare you, but I'm going to show you how to look at it really easily. Okay, so I'm going to divide my paper and I'm going to do it 2 ways. On this side, let's act like x equals sine theta. So then we can go about plugging x into where there's a sign. So we get the square root 2 times x squared plus x equals 0. So now let's solve this like we would when we're solving for x. Let's factor out an x. So we get the square root 2 times x plus 1. And we set each part equal to 0. So we have x equals 0. And we have the square root 2 times x plus 1 equals 0. Well, now at this point, we would go ahead and put sine back in. So we would have sine theta equals 0. And we'd have the square root 2 times sine theta plus 1 equals 0. So where does sine of theta equal 0? At theta 0 comma pi. Oh, and then for this one, we have to move everything to the other side and get sine by itself. So we get sine of theta equals -1 over the square root 2. So we'd rationalize that, and that would become sine theta equals -square root 2 over 2. So where does sine theta equals -2 square root 2 over 2? At in quadrant 3 and 4, because that's when sine is negative, and that is theta equals 5 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. So if setting sine to equal to x and then solving like a regular polynomial works for you, go ahead and do it. Because I mean that got us our answers of theta equals 0, pi, 5 pi over 4, and 7 pi over 4. All you have to do is just make sure to plug sine back in. On this side, let's go ahead and actually just solve it with sines. So we're going to factor out a sine, and we're left with the square root 2 times sine theta plus 1 equals 0. Well, this is pretty much the same thing we got right here, just with the sines in instead of x's. So if we set each part equal to 0, we get sine theta equals 0. Again, that's the same thing here. Theta equals 0 comma pi. And if we do this one, the square root 2 times sine theta plus 1 equals 0. We'd move everything to one side to get sine by itself. So sine theta equals, we'd subtract 1. And we'd divide by that. Now we'd have to rationalize. So we get sine theta would equal the negative square root 2 over 2. And then we just find what angle that is at. Theta equals, sine is negative in this instance, so it's got to be in quadrants 3 and 4. And that value is actually 5 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4.